Hello, friends. Welcome back. This is Arvind Palsing here. We are back with the sessions for the cost accounting. And today our trainer ma'am will be talking about very interesting topic. Our trainer ma'am, she is a CMA with 30 years of experience. And this initiative is mainly for the people who want to get learning. This session is for you. As the last line says, our trainer is just facilitating this session. So we want to give knowledge to you, to empower you. So feel free to put your contributions, participate in the sessions to get the maximum benefit of these sessions. So without further delay, ma'am, all over to you.
Thank you so much, Arvind.
You're welcome.
Friends, first of all, in fact, we have been taking some sessions, but in none of the sessions we have taken that what are the basic characteristics which we are required to become a cost and management accountant. These are basically characteristics which will help you to pass your exams as well as which will help you to practice as cost and management accountant, or even when you get in employment, it will help you to carry forward your responsibilities as a cost accountant. So first of all, I will share these things. I think first time I'll be sharing these informations, and you all must note these down, because these are 10 qualities, and I think all of us should possess. Rather, we should practice and we should work hard to get these things so that we can pass our exam. And not only pass in our exam, we should pass in a exam in flying colors, and then we should be very successful as a professional. So first and foremost is ability to focus. Whatever has been taught in the class or whatever has been taught anywhere, you have to be very focused on that particular thing, and you should be very focused about your goal. It is not like let's do CMA also, let's do MBA also, let's do this also, let's do that also. If you have thought of becoming a CMA, focus just to be a CMA, and whatever is relevant to be studied about CMA, that you should study. That you should not leave even a small session, or not even 10 minutes, 15 minutes knowledge sharing. Whatever platform you are getting, you must grab that. But at the same time, you should not divert here and there. That is very important. If you will think that, okay, I can take up MBA also, I can take up some other course also, then you can do it, but it will definitely hinder your focus, attention towards becoming a CMA. Number two, most important thing is you should be good with the numbers. If you are not good with the numbers means not your marks. You should be good in numbers means you should be good in the mathematical computations. Like here in the CMA course, most of the papers are having numerical questions. Like if you go to the company secretaryship, most of the questions you will find related to the law, but here most of the papers are related to the numbers. Like all mathematical calculations are there. May not be very high-end mathematics or statistics or calculus, something like that, but everywhere you will find the numbers, whether it is accounts or cost accounts or financial management or operations management. Everywhere you will find the number game, and if you are good in numbers, it will be very easy for you to score your good marks. Then you need to be attentive. Whatever is happening around in your study circle, you should be attentive, and whatever your teacher, whatever your trainer is telling you, you must be very careful about it. It's not like that your session is going on the other hand, it is not only for this session, it is true for every session. Tomorrow you join some other coaching classes, tomorrow you join coaching classes in the chapters. Even in that also, you have to be very attentive for your studies. Then logical thinking. The whole game of cost accounting is about logical thinking. We don't have a drawn roadmap. Like, no doubt, our cost accounting standards, our cost audit rules and regulations, they all provide us a roadmap to walk on. But still, the road for cost accountants are very, very raw. So we can, unless we have this logical tool of logical thinking, we will not be able to move on that. Because everywhere you have to logically think about the result. You have to be logically think about the present situation, and accordingly you have to decide. Not only in your studies, not only for your exams, but also when you get into the profession, then also it will be very helpful to you. So you have to develop your attentiveness as well as your logical thinking. Then curiosity, like you should be curious to learn each and every new thing, whatever is coming your way. Then the most important is healthy body. In case you have all these 5 abilities, but you are not keeping fit, so you will not be able to study properly. And the study related to cost and management accounting warrants a consistent practice, consistent study to qualify that exam. You must be aware that this is one of the very hard exams, at least in India. So you have to have a healthy body. Then you have to have a positive mindset. It's not that it is the course is very tough, so I will not be able to qualify. No, you have not even for a while you have not to think that it is beyond your capacity. You always have to do, yes, I can do it. I can do it. You have to study. You have to work hard with the positive mindset. Even if you fail once or twice, hardly matters. It is not going to take away your whole of your time. It is matter of 6 months or 1 year, but with a positive mindset you will definitely pass. So right from day one you have to have a positive mindset. You have not to even think that देखेंगे पास होते हैं कि नहीं होते हैं. You have not to go with this attitude. You have to be that, yes, I have to crack it. Okay, then you have to be very disciplined. If you decide that 4 hours in a day I have to study, means 4 hours in a day you have to study. Whatever may come, whatever may go, it may be Holi, it may be Diwali, it may be New Year, it may be a marriage, it may be function at the home, it may be any celebration. But in all the cases, if you have decided that throughout the semester you will be studying 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day, you have to spare that time. If you could not study 4 hours today, then you have to study 8 hours tomorrow. So that average of 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours, I'm sure if you maintain that average during the whole semester, it will be very easy for you to pass this exam. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Discipline is very important. Then you may be flexible with your timings. Like someday you want to study in the morning, it's fine. Someday you have some classes in the morning, you study in the evening, you study during the daytime. But if you have decided that 4 hours of study are needed, 5 hours of study are needed, then you must comply to that discipline. Then you have to be good in the imagination, especially when your examination problems are coming. In that case, apart from being conceptually clear, your imagination will also play some role. But that imagination should not be a dream. It should be in the light of your attentiveness and in the light of your logical thinking. Okay. And then good communication. That is the ultimate requirement to pass this examination, because unless you write the answer in a proper way, you will not be able to pass. Unless you communicate, even after passing out, if you are not a good communicator, you may not be a successful cost and management accountant. So good communication, if you are weak, if you feel that you are lacking somewhere in the communication, in that case you should start improving that right from today. Because if you are not a good communicator, you will not be able to successful in this particular course. So these are the few things. And in between the study also, I will be telling you what all things are needed to qualify these exams. So we move now to our chapter for the day, that is overheads, direct expenses and overhead expenditure. So first of all, we will deal with the direct expenses. As we already know that the expenditure which can be directly allocated to a cost center or a cost unit are known as direct expenses. Now, what is this direct allocation? Direct allocation means an expenditure which can be directly identified with a particular product. Suppose I am having a multi-product manufacturing facility. But in that product facility, for every product, I have a separate electricity meter, or I have a separate flow meter for whatever steam we are giving to the particular product. So those will be direct expenses. Suppose I have freight we are paying to get the material, that is the direct expenditure if the raw material is identifiable. If it is a direct material, suppose there are 4 products, but one particular product is requiring one particular material, and for that particular material we have incurred some freight inward, so that is directly allocated to that particular product. Suppose electricity, we have a separate meter for every product, so those are direct expenses. Then there are design charges. Suppose I am into some furniture making, so I have 4 products, like tables are there, chairs are there, they say drawers and cabinets are there, and then beds are there. So whatever design charges I have paid separately for a particular product, I will charge directly that design charges to that particular product. So that will become a direct expenditure. Then if there is any experimental cost, suppose I am into some chemical industry or say pharmaceutical industry, so there I am working on some drug combinations. So whatever cost related to that experiment is there, whatever cost we have incurred to carry out those experiments, that will be directly allocated to that particular product or that particular drug combination, which is the outcome of that experiment. Similarly, consultation fee, I am into some working where, say, I am into a project management consultancy. So for that, I need to hire structural engineer. So whatever consultation fee I have to pay that structural engineer, that will be directly allocated to that very project. Okay, so like it should be the basic idea behind direct expenses is it should be directly identifiable from the cost center or cost unit or product or project, whatever comes on your way. I hope this is clear. If there's any question, you can please ask in the chat box. We'll move to the next slide. Then we know Cost Accounting Standard 10 deals with the direct expenses. Now, what the provisions of Cost Accounting Standard 10 speaks about this, it is what is direct expenses, what all to be included there and what all not to be included there is very categorically mentioned in the CAS 10. So what is to be included? Costs which are directly traceable or identifiable with the cost object. Suppose I am making this mouse. So whatever expenditures are directly related to making of this mouse, whatever consumables, whatever tools, techniques, whatever is being salary of a supervisor who is directly supervising the production of this, quality control person, those are all direct expenses that will be directly allocable to this particular product. Then expenses incurred for the use of bought in resources. So for for making this particular mouse, I have to incur some electrical expenditure, some material like LED that we are not manufacturing inside. So whatever material resources we have spent, whatever expenses we have spent to buy some resources to be utilized for making a particular product will be included in direct expenses. Suppose if I have taken some quality testings done from some outside, suppose I am making some electrical bulbs or I am making some food products. So whatever testing charges, laboratory charges we are paying outside our organization to get the product validated or get that product verified, that will be included in the direct expenses. Suppose I am making spices. In case of spices, we have to have that FSSAI certification. And to get that FSSAI certification, we need to have particular laboratory tests. And every time we are taking or renewing that certificate, we need to get that testing done, laboratory testing done from the outside. Our in-house laboratory testing doesn't qualify for that. So whatever expenses we are incurring will be for the respective products. We will be charging those direct expenses for that particular product. Then price variance, if such expenses are accounting for at the standard cost. In some organizations, they are accounting the cost accounting records. They are preparing the
We lost your voice, ma'am.
cost basis.
Okay, it's good now.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if we are like incurring the expenses on say if we are booking the expenses on standard cost basis, so in that case, whatever is the price variance, suppose standard cost for something is 10 rupees, but I am incurring 11 rupees. So 1 rupee is the additional actual cost which I am incurring for a particular item, for a particular expenditure. So that 1 rupee is the price variance that has to be included in our direct expenses. This simply means this. You may get more clarity about this very point when we study the standard costing. So, but at this juncture, you just understand this point that if we are booking the cost on the basis of standard cost, so whatever is the price variance that can be charged to our direct expenditure as per CAS 10. And what are excluded? The product, the expenditures which are not traceable or not identifiable by a particular product. Those are to be excluded from direct expenses. And whatever we are excluding from the direct expenses list will be booked as overheads. It is not like that we are excluding it here, so we will not consider in our cost of production. We will definitely include in our cost of production or in our cost of sales. At some stage, we will be considering that, but that all will be identified as overhead expenditure. And where we will, how we will allocate those overhead expenses to a particular product, that we will see in our further slides to come. So a product, an expenditure which is not traceable with the product, that will be excluded from direct expenses. Then finance cost will be excluded from here. Then imputed cost will be excluded from here. If I am making some recovery on account of certain expenses, suppose I have say taken some lubricant, and those lubricants are coming in the cans. So those cans I can sell as scrap. So if my can was costing say 1,000 rupees and I could get 50 rupees from the selling of that empty can, so my cost in direct expenses will be 950 rupees. 1,000 minus 50 rupees will be my cost for that lubricant per can, right? So if we are, if I am able to recover any expenditure, or if I am able to get any credit for any expenditure, that we are supposed to reduce from our total direct expenses. Then comes penalty or damages paid to the statutory authorities. Suppose I have an electricity meter separately identifiable for a particular product. In that case, I am supposed to pay that electricity bill on that very meter for that very connection. But if I am not paying that bill in time and my electricity gets disconnected and I have to pay some penalty to the electricity department for reconnecting my services, for reconnecting my meter, that will not be part of direct expenses. That has to be, though it is allocable, though it is directly traceable, it is directly identifiable that my machine shop electricity bill was electricity was disconnected, it was related, but it is a penalty it is a damage, or it is some kind of money which has been paid to the statutory authorities. So that will not be included in CAS, will not be included under direct expenses as per CAS 10. So you have to be very clear that what can be included and what cannot be included. So because whatever cannot be included under CAS 10 has to be covered under the term overheads, and then we have to follow a different allocation practice for the overheads. How we will do that? We will just have a look at that. Now we will see what overheads are. Overheads are the amount not identified with any product or cost center. Means an item, the cost and expenditure which is not directly allocable will all be booked under overheads, like salary of manager. Expenses which are common for the entire factory will be classified as overheads. Am I audible properly?
Yes, you are now. In between you.
Okay. So all such expenditures are known as overheads. What are the features related to overheads? That it is over and above normal heads of expenditure. Like whatever is directly allocable to a particular product, that is normal heads of expenditure, and whatever has been paid over and above those expenses, like we have paid money, we have paid traveling, we have paid conveyance, we have paid selling expenses, marketing expenses. So whatever we have spent over and above the normal heads of expenditure, that will be classified under the term overheads. Then it is aggregate of indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenditure. These are the three items. Like we have seen, direct materials are separate, direct labor is separate, and direct expenses are separate. Whatever is left is all indirect, which we could not allocate directly to a particular product or cost center. So that all indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenditure will become part of overheads. It cannot be allocated or absorbed directly to cost unit. This we have already discussed, that this is not directly allocable to any direct cost unit. Then the basic idea, basic concept on which we are charging these overheads to particular product, it should be apportioned in economical, feasible manner. Like if I am incurring, say, some expenditure, say towards the rent of the building, but in that case I have, say, 20 products which are undergoing. So if this thing is the method of allocation should be such that it should be economical, it should be feasible, and it should be easily understandable by all. So that economical and feasible parameter has to be considered while apportioning the overhead expenditure to over and above these for allocating to any particular product. And these overheads are governed by CAS 3, which deals with the administrative and which deals with the production and operational overheads. Then CAS 11, which deals with the admin overheads, and CAS 15, which deals with the selling and distribution overheads. Then how do we do accounting of overheads? This is a bit cumbersome thing, may not be clear in this 10 minutes, 15 minute session. But if you have any questions relating to this, you go through this particular portion in your study material. If something is not clear, then we can take the same collection and classification, allocation and apportionment and absorption in the production units in the next session also, because this is very important to understand, because this leads to many questions in the examination. That is one thing. And also in your practical life, whenever you will pass this exam and when you will go for your practical professional working, then also this conceptual clarity will help you to take the things forward. So you have to be very clear about this accounting of overheads part. Here we will take it in brief, but if you require, we can take a next complete session on this. So accounting of overheads is like how to account for like direct expenses, direct material, direct labor. We have just seen that directly we can put in our cost sheet. But in case of overheads, we have to first of all collect the overheads. Collect means we have to identify the overheads. What are the real overheads? Then we have to classify these overheads. Okay, means we have to record whatever expenditure is being classified and under the head overheads. Then we have to classify those overheads according to the organization's policy. Somewhere it is being function wise, somewhere it is being classified as variable and fixed behavior wise. So that we have to go by the like every organization to organization, it will differ. So we have already dealt this classification part in our first session. So you can just refer first session. So you will be more clear about it. Then allocation and apportionment. Then what is allocation? Allocation is the distribution of overheads to the departments or products on logical or equitable basis. Means that we have incurred overhead, say, of 1 crore rupees. Various overheads like rent is there, salary of accounts office is there, then salary of directors is there, then traveling is there, conveyance is there, head office expenses are there. So many expenses are there. So we have incurred, in all, we have incurred 1 crore rupees. I am having 5 products. So I cannot allocate 20 lakhs to all 5 just randomly. I have to have a particular logical and equitable base, because it may be that I am having 5 products, but out of 5 products, one product is having sale of only 10 lakh rupees and other is having sale of 50 lakh rupees. So it will be totally unjustifiable if I allocate 20 lakh directly to the every product. So we have to arrive at a logical and equitable basis where we can distribute the overheads to various products or to various departments or to various cost centers. So this allocation and apportionment is totally based on the logical reasoning. So for this purpose only, initially I told you that we have to have a logical thinking, because for doing anything, if I divide simply by 5 products, it is fine. It is justifiable. I can say, like, I have 5 products, I have divided it. But it is not logical, because what is logical is whatever is the sale contribution or whatever time hours they are taking, how much energy they are taking of the enterprise to sell those products or to manufacture those products. Maybe that one product is taking only 1 hour on the machine shop, another product is taking, say, 5 hours on the machine shop. So if I equally divide my overhead expenditure related to machine shop equally amongst all the products, so it will not be a justifiable thing. So we have to be very clear while dealing with the allocation and apportionment. And then absorption. Once we have allocated to a particular product, then we can immediately account for. Absorption is nothing but the charging of the overheads to a particular unit. Like if I am making a cost sheet of product A, then as per my allocation chart, my overheads for product A is coming 10 lakh rupees. So straight away I will add that 10 lakh rupees to the product A. So that will be simply charging of the overheads to a particular unit. So here the most important part is allocation and apportionment. So once you have understood that thing correctly, you will never miss any question related to overheads, or even further the decision making questions will be coming. So you be very clear about this accounting of the overheads. Okay. Here I will fast take this classification of overheads based on the behavior. In our initial session, we have seen this, but here I would like to take the relevance of this, that behavior wise, we know that we have 3 classifications. One is fixed, another is variable, and another one is semi-fixed and semi-variable. So what is fixed? Fixed is which remains fixed over a particular period of time. That is not fixed as per the quantum of production. Whereas variable expenditure is directly related to the quantum of production. It is said variable because it varies as per the quantum of production. And fixed remains fixed irrespective of zero production or is irrespective of the 1 lakh units of production. Whether I produce 0 unit or I produce 1 lakh unit, my fixed overheads will always remain same. But my variable overheads will never remain same. It will be, if I am not making anything, my variable overhead will be 0. If I am making 1 lakh unit, it will be charged according to 1 lakh unit. Suppose my variable overhead is 2 rupees per unit and I am making 1 lakh units, so my cost will be, variable overhead cost will be 2 lakh rupees. But in case of fixed expenses, if my fixed expenses are 10 lakh rupees per month, irrespective of the quantum of production, it will remain 10 lakh. Whether it is lockdown or it is anything, it will not change. Clear? And semi-fixed is, or semi-variable expenditure is that which varies, a part of which remains fixed and a part of that varies according to the quantum of production. Suppose it is electricity, even your electricity bill is also a semi-fixed or semi-variable. Like up to a certain level, up to say 100 units or say 1000 units, your electricity bill will remain same. And if you are consuming more than 1000 units or more than 100 units in case of domestic consumption, your per unit cost will always keep on changing. So this varies beyond a certain limit. It varies to the it varies according to the consumption, and below that limit it remains fixed. So it is semi-variable. So we need to be very clear about this concept, because this concept will be very much useful when we are working on the marginal costing and when we are basically dealing with the break-even point and all those things. Then relevant cost accounting standards I would like to mention in a quick way, that CAS 3 deals with the production and operations overheads. Then CAS 10 deals with the direct expenses. CAS 11 deals with administrative overheads. CAS 15 deals with selling and distribution overheads. CAS 17 deals with financial expenses. In cost accounts, financial expenses are never added in these three overheads, because financial expenses are neither production overheads, nor admin overheads, nor S&D overheads. So these are over and above shown separately in our cost accounting records. So we have to be very clear about the financial expenses treatment. Then comes research and development expenses. In cost sheet, we also deal with the research and development expenses separately. If it is a small designing charges which can be directly allocable, that we can add in the direct expenses. But if it is a long-term research and development going on in the organization, so there is a specific way to deal with this, and CAS 18 governs that very course of action. So this is all from my side, and now over to you, Arvind.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. That's very helpful. And the best part, in the beginning, you try to encourage our friends here that the consistency is the key. So we should be going in the same direction with our persistent efforts. That's very important. But anyways, now I open the session. We got only 3 minutes now. You can ask questions in the chat box or unmute yourself. And if you run out of time, please put your question in the WhatsApp group.